This shoot was one of my favorite creatives that I have done in a long time. The idea was simple: get a ton of flowers, combine with my beautiful wife and a few of her friends, and shoot some surreal portraiture. The plan was to walk away with a great set of images, some moving portraits, a beautifully presented story for social media, and a YouTube video explaining how I did it all. So let's begin. What's going on, guys? My name is Corey Vanderploot at CoreyPhoto on Twitter and Instagram. Let's just jump right into La Fleur. Like I said in the beginning, the idea was simple, but as I got deeper and deeper into execution, I realized how tricky it really was. Building a set with an abundance of flowers is no simple task, and using flowers made it even a harder task. Also, a much more expensive project. But I've always wanted to work with real flowers because they photograph so well. Before I began anything, I wanted to find a color palette that I could use as a rule of thumb while buying flowers. Having a strong idea of what color palette to use while at the market helped tremendously. This small amount of planning pushed me into the right direction. It cut down to thinking and made me a lot more decisive, which is what you need when art directing a project. The inspiration behind the palette was actually a still image from Wes Anderson's The Grand Budapest Hotel. I came across this image on Instagram. Shout out to colorpalette.cinema for the great post. And loved the colors, especially the gradient from the various pinks to a neutral, then to a deep, desaturated blue. Once I had this, and my wife and collaborator signed off on the plan, it was off to the flower market. On our way to the market, we thought, how are we gonna carry all of these flowers? There was only 2 of us heading to the flower market, so we had to do it in 2 trips. The first trip was 2 days before the shoot, and we carried as many dried flowers as we could, sticking with the color palette. The next trip we made was next day in the morning of the shoot, and it was a lot more difficult and a lot more expensive. But once we saw the real flowers and the dried flowers together, it showed just how well each color complemented one another. I shot some images off to the team of the colors, and they were thrilled. But now the hardest part. How do we build a set and suspend 20 pounds of flowers with an additional 40 pounds of wet flower foam and steel netting and rigging? For this, I used a simple seamless stand with a crossbar and just added an extra steel rod for support inside of the crossbar. Then, all I did was hang rope along the edges and 2 in the middle to connect the rigging. I used this image as a reference for how I wanted to hang the flowers in the backdrop, and then I hung the steel netting in a similar way. From there, we just had to drop in the foam and then the flowers. The dry flowers went in the night before very simply, and we decided to build the real flowers the morning of the shoot so they would stay as fresh as possible when we began shooting. The morning of the shoot is when we learned that this part was an incredible learning curve, as we learned right away how heavy the flowers and the foam completely absorbed with water can be. But the more flowers we put in, the better it looked. Starting from pink with a slow gradient to blue looked better and better as we dropped them into the rigging. Before we knew it, the set was built. Micheline, one of the models and also incredible stylist of Studio Dem, shout out to Studio Dem, had arrived and started setting up. Then the rest of the models. Now the fun part. The shoot. I had a loose set of images for inspiration and reference to get the crew to the same mindset as me, but when it came to shooting, I just went for my gut and rode the wave. I had shot everyone before and everyone is a close friend, so we were able to get into a great flow almost immediately. These kinds of shoots are some of my favorites. When you can ride each other's energy and have a complete freedom to shoot whatever you want, no pressure to deliver, just shooting for the sake of shooting. I would shoot everyone individually, then a group shot, and then repeat 4 times. I was able to shoot stills and moving portraits digitally, experiment with my 35mm and SX70 Polaroid camera, as well as have everyone, including myself, shoot BTS on their iPhone. Generally, I like to focus on just one medium, but since this was fun and there was a lot of freedom, I switched it up constantly. It was a great exercise, and as you can see, the different formats look fantastic when they're combined in this layout. It was an incredible amount of work to produce and shoot. Double those hours and you have my post-production time. But I learned valuable lessons on shoot production, building sets, working with a big crew, and best of all, how to mix mediums and shoot for the sake of shooting. Which just goes to show that everyone needs to practice more. Complete novices to top-level working professionals. Everyone can learn from doing and trying something new. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please like this video and smash the subscribe button. If you have any questions, drop a comment. I do my best to answer all of them. Be sure to stay tuned for videos on retouching and how I created the moving portraits. My name's Corey Vanderploeg at Corey Photo on Twitter and Instagram. Happy shooting. Prints for my first collection, edition, sign, and ship right to your front door are on sale now on my Shopify. Use promo code CoreyPhoto50 to save $50 and get free shipping.